Go ahead and call this meeting to order. Ms. Crozier, would you show all council members are present?
Yes.
The purpose of the meeting tonight is to consider an ordinance to transfer all financial obligations from the treasurer to the director of finance as provided by the Covington City Code, Chapter 5. Financial Administration, Section 5.021, collection, custody, disbursement of local funds by the director of finance. The meeting has been called tonight under a special provision allowed for in the Virginia Code 2.2-3707D, amended as 1950. We've given public notice as soon as we could. The charges announced today against the city treasurer and elected constitutional officers are serious and of great concern. In that regard, council has called this meeting tonight to consider the adoption of an ordinance to transfer the treasurer's authority to the director of finance. In considering this, council acting out of an abundance of caution until the legal proceedings related to the charges announced today have run their full course in the court system. For state law, only state police, Virginia State Police, have the authority to conduct a criminal investigation into an elected official. As such, it is important to note that none of our local law enforcement agencies are directing this investigation. And we are not here tonight to assign blame, to make any accusations, to announce innocence or guilt. We're here to look out for what we consider the best interest of the city of Covington. We have an ordinance, it's ordinance -2204. Whereas on Tuesday, July 19, 2022, the treasurer of the city of Covington was arrested by the Virginia State Police on 3 felony counts of possession of Schedule II narcotics and 1 misdemeanor count of divulging confidential tax information. Whereas the Covington City Council considers these charges to be extremely serious and troubling, and whereas in order to permit the legal process to proceed accordingly while at the same time protecting the financial interests of the city of Covington and the citizens of the city of Covington, now therefore it is hereby ordained by the City Council that pursuant to the Charter of the City of Covington, Chapter 5, Financial Administration, Section 5.021, the Director of Finance for the City of Covington, and not the City Treasurer, shall collect, have custody of, and disperse all local taxes, revenues, and funds which belong to the city and the Consolidated School Board, or to which they are either are entitled. Be it further ordained by the Covington City Council that Director of Finance for the City of Covington shall have the rights, powers, and authority conferred upon and shall be subject to all the duties and liabilities imposed upon the city treasurer by the general laws of the Commonwealth and the Covington City Charter with respect to local taxes, revenues, and funds. I would entertain a motion to approve this ordinance.
So moved. Second.
Council, do any of you have any questions or discussions? Kyla, could you do a roll call, please?
Mr. Carson?
4.
Mr. Hunter?
4.
Mr. Tucker?
4.
Vice Mayor Crozier?
4.
Mayor Sabo?
4. In the coming days, the finance director, whom authority is being transferred to at this time, along with the city manager and city attorney, will do the following. Consult with the city's financial auditors and municipal advisors on what measures to take in this transfer of authority to ensure public trust is protected and operations are not adversely impacted nor our citizens and businesses. Notification of this transfer of authority per city charter will be provided to all of the city's financial institutions and any applicable state agencies.
Along those lines, are you done? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay, along those lines.
I've got the code down there again, but I don't need to read it.
I make a motion that we go into closed session under Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A1.
Mr. Mayor, this is a travesty. Y'all come down here and put this meeting out, public meeting, and then you come down here and you rush to it. There's people here that like to say stuff. but there was no room for public comment. And I don't like the idea of the fact that we have an elected official, yes, that has been charged, but nothing has been done yet. And we're already taking the power away from that office. If that office wasn't necessary, then why hasn't this been done before so we didn't have an elected treasurer? Why wasn't it handled through the city? To me, we just give up one of our levels of checks and balances because now the same people that are collecting the money are giving it up.
Good job, Mike. I do have a question.
Go ahead.
What does that mean for the people that work in the treasurer's office? Exactly. Like, I'm just confused, like, what does that mean for Jamie and myself?
You would continue to do your duties as you've done in the past. You will still have your job, you will still have the same duties and assignments. What we've done here tonight is per the city charter and the Code of Virginia. An elected official has been charged with 3 felonies and 1 misdemeanor that involved the handling of tax records, which are all very serious charges.
I don't think it's tax records.
What is it?
It's West Rock.
No, I don't think we should say that. I don't know what it is. What mine says,
We don't know.
See, you don't know, so that's why I think you're jumping the gun.
you got the charges.
The VSB is keeping everything to themselves, right?
Yeah. I'm just curious, like, who will we answer to? Will we answer to BB? Like, who are we to answer to now?
You will answer to BB or ask questions of BB if you have any. I fully believe that you and Jamie are both capable of manning that office and taking care of the day-to-day operations of that office.
And
So
I
why can't we
agree.
continue to do so without any changing?
Someone has to be in charge of the finances.
BB's in charge of the finances from upstairs. I mean, we collect the money, we put it in the Munis, Munis does what Munis does. Then it gets to BB. We don't, I mean,
I'm not here tonight to accuse anyone of anything as far as guilt goes. I don't know what happened. I know what the charges are. I know that in the idea of transparency and allowing people to feel comfortable with the finances of the city, I don't know that someone that's been charged with 3 felonies is the right person to have in charge of the finances until they're proven innocent. That's my concern.
So from here on out, until further notice, we answer to BB.
So you're giving power to a man who already abuses his power?
That statement is out of order and
Yes,
you
sir.
have no proof.
Yes, sir, I do.
Then you need to present the proof and we'll bring charges.
I've already given it to you.
You gave me what I'm not going to get into all that because there's a whole lot more to it than what you said. You just taking your side of the story and you want to talk about that. I can't talk about the other side of the story because it's a personnel matter and I can't talk about personnel matters. So where we go?
I think the big issue right now is Facebook and all the comments that are really inaccurate. And let me finish. And I don't know if somebody, Ms. Onaitis, or somebody can kind of clarify. There's a lot of ignorant people, and I don't mean that in a mean way. I mean they don't know, understand what's going on with the taxes and the water, thinking they're getting ripped off, and that's not the case. They get audited every year. That's not the question. So somebody, be it you or Ms. Onaitis, needs to say something on Facebook to pacify these people and make some sort of understanding, because it is getting blown and there's so much inaccuracy, and they're burying somebody before anybody understands exactly what the charges are, how long ago it happened, or what happened recently, or whatever. Something needs clarification.
And no, but I feel like our whole office is being buried.
Yes.
we're stealing people's tax money, we're stealing people's water bills, and that's not accurate at all. We're not those people.
We
We're
just
not
collect the
doing that.
money.
We have had, I've been on council 10 years, and we've had successful audits every year.
That would be
Nothing
appreciative to be
appropriate,
put out
nothing
there.
showed up as any misdoings, any wrongdoing. We've had clean audits every time.
And that's what I'm saying, it needs to be put out again, because these people seem to think that Teresa is the one charging certain people and making decisions on the amounts and all this sort of thing, when it really comes from the city council, the state, or whatever the case may be. It just needs to be clarified on Facebook, because it's
I
just
agree
rampant.
100%, and I would suggest that we have an audit now, a forensics audit, to make sure there's nothing wrong, no wrongdoing.
Well, you've got these two workers right here,
I know.
these employees that do a phenomenal job.
They do.
And if anything was awry, they would be the first to step up and say something. And I know that because I've worked at both with them.
And I think they would correct anything they saw wrong. But we sit here tonight and we defend them, and we talk about how good a job they do. That's not what changed Facebook.
It's gonna pacify a lot of people, because they do not know. And I think they're actually wanting some information on what's going on and how they do their job and how some responsibilities out there. They aren't the ones picking up the charges and making things up.
I just don't want people to come in being ugly to us for something that is out of our control.
Right.
I mean,
And I know that we have certain security measures that we are allowed to take, but I'm also not one to sit there and let somebody yell at me through that little window.
And you don't have to take that. If you need to call somebody from the police department to come up there to assist you, do that. There should be somebody back there that could be there pretty quick to help you. And I know, I've talked with the commissioner a couple times today. She's hearing the exact same things y'all are hearing. She's got people who've been calling her all day, accusing the treasurer's office, the commissioner's office, and council of all kinds of inappropriate things that have not happened as far as I know.
And that are not related to the charges that were.
Right.
Yes, and we need to
Yeah.
get that out, because I don't want to see them being harassed.
Right.
I don't want the dispatchers getting phone calls. I don't want the commissioner, getting harassed either. It just, you all need to do something.
I agree with what you're saying, but my experience with Facebook before I quit getting on Facebook because of the very thing you're talking about is that you could tell the truth and people would rather tell a lie than hear the truth. And that's been my experience with Facebook. If they could make something up, they would rather do that than tell the truth. And those are the same people you're talking about now that are making up all these stories that aren't true.
Well, maybe Jerry or somebody can step up to the plate
We will
and
step
get
up
this,
talk to city
and get
officials
this.
and get your concerns addressed.
No, with this one down today, Janie, and you were the two I worried about. Whatever legally happens, that's in the courts. But for what you just said, that was my concern. And what you're talking about, Margie, you're exactly right. People have been tearing it up. Now, I don't know how you get that message to them that they're going to believe. Because for whatever reason, and Jerry does what he can to do his part. But no matter what you do in any situation, so I think we come up with something. We'll work with Jerry and try to come up with something to, I just hope it helps. Because you two have no dog in that fight.
That is correct.
There
And I
you
don't more so worry about myself, but Jamie. Jamie's a very genuine and nice individual. I more or less can handle my own, but I also don't want to have to deal with it.
Right.
Because it's not my place to have to deal with it. It's not our place to have to deal with it when people want to be ugly.
We just feel like if
If it was out there.
council and city hall would back us instead of jumping on the bandwagon with everybody else and, giving her job duties to someone else, if somebody would back us.
We didn't do this indiscriminately. We talked with the attorney, we talked with the auditor, we talked with our financial advisor. All three recommended us to take this action. It wasn't like one of them said, oh, you ought to do it, the other said, oh, it don't matter. All three of them were adamant that we needed to take this type of action right now. It's done until the trial. Once she goes to trial and she's proven innocent, she can come back to her position. But we can't do, we can do what you're saying, but that's going against the advice of our auditor, our financial advisor, and our attorney. So we didn't do this just for the heck of it. We talked, I've been involved in this all day.
All right, Mr. Mayor, if she is proven guilty on these charges, is she gonna be the last treasurer we have? Is everything else settled?
That's not the intention, Mike. We're not trying to get rid of the treasurer's office. We're trying to deal with the matter at hand. That's our sole purpose, is to deal with the matter at hand. If she is found guilty, which I'm not saying she is or she isn't, that's just the question. If she's found guilty, then a judge will appoint someone to fill her position until the next scheduled election. And then at that time, whoever runs for it, that needs to be a citizen of Covington, runs for it. Then whoever wins that election will be the treasurer from that point on to the next election. This is not to dissolve the treasurer. This has nothing to do with getting rid of the treasurer's office. This is doing what the attorney, the auditor, and the financial advisors has told us we should do. And I probably should have made that clear at the beginning.
Yeah, there wasn't nothing in that ordinance that said it was a temporary thing. The ordinance said it was a permanent thing, the way it was read.
Well, it's permanent until the trial. It's not forever. No, it is not forever. It's what we need to do until she is cleared of any charges and can come back to work, or a special election is held to replace her. So, you know, we're probably looking at 3 to 6 months.
That's for a trial.
You know, the time you go arraignment in sometime in August probably, and then a trial date set, and you're probably looking at another 2 or 3 months just off the top of my head guessing. You know, you may not be seeing a trial before November or December.
And
Typically.
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry to interrupt, but just for the questions that were raised as to why the finance director had the authority, the authority was transferred to the finance director. And I do apologize, Mr. Popovich, our city attorney, could not be here tonight, given other locality commitments. But the reason that occurred was per charter, the only individual that authority in a situation of this nature or something that council deems a need to transfer that authority, right? So whatever that may be that you all feel that there's cause, the authority can only be transferred to either the head of finance or the city manager. So there was only 2 options that are actually defined in the charter. So it was not intended to slight any of the treasurer's office staff in that, you know, they could have been assigned that. Legally, there's no language that allows that. That was a question that was asked today, if that could all just be transferred to one of the existing employees. So please know, we're dealing with this on the fly. Pretty much all of our advisors, you know, so that, you know, this is just kind of, it's uncharted territory. You know, there's localities where they've had treasurer issues where it's very different, where there were, you know, on-the-job fraud, where you're seeing it, where, you know, your resource authority for your water stops giving you water because the treasurer wasn't sending any of the water payments and kind of thing. This is not something that you see every day, and most of our advisors, even our municipal financial advisors that work throughout the state, have not really had to deal with a situation of this nature.
So as of right now, does this mean that she is not allowed in our office, in the treasurer's office? Is that what this means for the time being?
To be honest with you.
I mean, because we don't know.
That's a good question.
That is a.
I thought that too, and I would think that would.
So legally, only a judge can actually remove her from her elected position. Right now, what has occurred is the ability to carry out the duties, right, the official duties, have been reassigned. And that provision in charter, and I apologize, I'm not a city attorney, but we spent a lot of time today talking with the attorney. That provision that's in the charter that allows the transfer of duties, it is there, but legally, every locality is required to have a treasurer. So some localities even just have it where they have a treasurer, but they have no real active role. We have a full-fledged treasurer here with treasurer's office staff. There's some localities where there's just a treasurer of one and they sit and they sign the registry kind of thing. So that being said, we need to then figure out in the coming days, talking with the city attorney, what that then means for as far as access or, I guess, duties, because council can either petition the court for removal from the elected official position, which is not something the council has expressed any interest in, or a judge can just determine to remove them as part of the proceedings in court until the proceedings complete. There's a variety of ways, but right now all we've done is just say, you know, no formal decision-making by the elected treasurer can be done with regards to the finances at this time. So that's essentially what that means.
And
So if she shows up to, you know, and continues to work, then she's continuing to work. But the actual sign-offs and those kinds of things will have to then get done by the head of finance. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 'cause
And
I mean, I was
honestly,
just-
we're thinking through it on the fly. This resolution or ordinance was drafted probably about 3.5, 4 hours ago.
Okay, because there were some things, me and Janie, we know how to run the majority of the office. There are some things that we don't know how to do that she does that we don't have access to do. And I'm gonna assume that BB probably wouldn't know those roles either because he doesn't do them. You know, it's something the commissioner does some, the treasurer does some. And I just wanna make sure that we're gonna cover our bases, that even though that we are gonna continue to run the office, that if there's something that she needs to be done and she has to come in, that she is gonna be allowed to come in to do those things.
Correct. I mean, at this point in time, it's just the overall,
The
for
checks and
instance,
balances. and
the check balances, posting to the accounts, any movement of that or debt service payments and stuff. We'll be working to kind of coordinate that with the head of finance as the final sign off.
in the section, it says that the treasurer shall not collect, have custody of, and disperse all local taxes, revenues, and funds. That will be DD's job.
Correct. So in theory, to do the transition, if there's some verbal information that she needs to provide, or walkthrough assistance that she needs to provide for continuity.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that Ms. Harrison would want to do that, just for the good of the city. It's very unfortunate what has happened, but again, this was recommended from financial advisors to our auditors and the city attorney.
Okay, I'll make that motion again. I make a motion to go into closed session under 2.2-3711A1 of the Code of Virginia.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.